When the stress is prolonged, it becomes a challenge for people even to notice the signs of stress, unfortunately. In those situations, people end up only starting to pay attention to what is going on for them when they end up with some psychological difficulties, like anxiety, for example, or physical health difficulties.
Do I wish to contribute to this? The answer is clearly no. So obviously for me, I choose to not think of that thing that upsets me and think of something that either I can do or a way that I calm myself down.
I connect with Archangel Gabriel and we have a conversation of how wonderful the day is going to be and how I'm going to achieve this and achieve that and that sort of thing.
Knowing self and knowing those patterns so that you can put a strategy in place, have strategies to support that and navigate that. And the quickest one I know is breathing.
I know when my mind starts getting erratic during the day, like flighty, I know that my breath has gotten short and ragged, that something, like I'm reacting to something, and I also feel a contraction in the body.
Hey everyone, it's Sophia from Sacred You. Thank you so much for being here. A quick message before we dive into today's discussion. You may have been watching our videos, but have not had a chance to hit that subscribe button. So if you have gained value from our conversations, from our channel, it would be so appreciated for us if you would hit that subscribe button below right now and even give us a like. What that means is not only does it allow us to grow our subscriber base, but it also allows us to bring in even more guests for you to listen to. And you will be one of the first ones to be notified. So please hit that subscribe button and let's get started on today's wonderful panel discussion.
Welcome, everyone, to Sacred U's Self-Care and Self-Nurturing for Stress Relief panel discussion. My name's Elizabeth KIPP, and I'm a stress management and historical trauma specialist, addiction recovery coach, and ancestral clearing practitioner. I live in Lawrence, Kansas, in the center of the United States, and it's my pleasure to be here on this panel. Today, we're going to look at self-care for stress relief. We'll explore practical strategies for managing stress in daily life. We'll be looking at essential self-care practices and emphasizing how these approaches can help us reduce stress and improve overall well-being. We'll be bringing our insights into incorporating self-care into busy schedules, addressing common obstacles like time constraints and lack of motivation. And we'll even be talking about developing how one develops their own self-care routine, daily self-care routine. That's what we're up to today. And I'd like to introduce our panelists. I'm going to start in order of how everybody appears on my camera. KATERINA, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm KATERINA from South Australia. I am a certified life coach, ascension coach as well. I help you understand your energy and how you can use it to your advantage in your everyday life. I also promote self-care, and I'm a crystal light practitioner and also a light language practitioner to help you with calming your mind and body so you can embody your wisdom of your spiritual awareness. Nice to be here. Hi, ladies.
Thank you so much, KATERINA.
Thank
Olga,
you.
would you introduce yourself to us?
Yes, hi, I'm Olga. I'm holistic counselor and psychotherapist. I focus on mind-body interconnection and mainly help people with anxiety, worries, and sometimes it means really working with trauma. That's it.
And where are you hailing from today?
I'm currently in London. That's where I'm based for now.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. MARINA?
I am MARINA, and I live in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. And I have chosen self-love as my niche, life coaching. And it may sound odd, but everything begins and ends with us. And if our vision of ourselves is damaged or broken, then our perception of the world is that way too. I have specialized in clinical hypnotherapy and NLP, and I work with people who deal with anxiety, stress, relationship issues, OCD, phobias, you name it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marina. And Joanne.
Amazing. Hello, ladies. I'm Joanne Owen, and I am also the host of the Empowered You tribe in the Sacred You community. I am an empowerment coach. I work with women in anxiety and overwhelm and all the things. Also an NLP and hypnosis practitioner, and 40 years in the health and wellness industry. So I love all things self-care, and I'm excited about this conversation with you all today. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Joanne. I'm so excited for this panel. I'd like to start with our first question, which is, what are some simple, everyday self-care practices that you use to reduce stress? And I'll start in the opposite way that I began. Joanne?
Okay, so my day always starts with a routine or a ritual, a routine, a self-care routine, and is depending on how I'm feeling in the moment when I wake. First thing I do is I wake my energy, because I believe that after sleeping for 8 hours or more, our bodies need to be woken up and our brain and body need to connect. So I do a bit of vigorous movement, jumping around just to get in my body. But also on waking, I have a very powerful practice of gratitude. So honoring what I'm grateful for today, 3 things that I'm grateful for today. I'm really feeling that. So there's a whole ritual I go through. I love to go for a walk in nature. I do my yoga practice on my mat with breathing. I feel breathing is really important. So for me, it's a whole morning routine before I even start my day, so that I can get into my body, into myself before I can actually give to anybody else. And that's a really simple way of, and a lot of people say, wow, does that take you a lot of time? Not really. You could do that in an hour. And if you find that you haven't got the time, I just maybe suggest wake up that little bit of hour so that you can make that time for you to do what's necessary for you before you start giving to everybody else. And most women are always giving. So yeah, starting your day to reduce that stress in your body.
I love that so much. We fill our cups first, right? Everyone else gets the overflow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Joanne. Marina, what simple everyday self-care practices do you use that reduce stress for you?
I have developed a 20-minute meditation years ago, and I have now recently added my 5 to 6 minute practice. I call it my workout. And it's between 5 to 6 minutes, and I do it 3 to 4 times a day. So what I do is I first do gratitude, and every day, every time, I look for something else. Otherwise, it gets boring and stale. Then I ask myself, what do I want? And it depends on the day. Then I see myself having achieved it. Then I go back to a time when I have achieved it and I was really excited, really happy, or very calm, depending on what I want. And then I do the white light. I find that really important to cleanse any negative things that got attracted, vibrations and energies that got attached to us. If I have I will also heal it with white blood cells and the white light. So it's healing and healing. And then I go to end it and to tie it together, I go to my luck and positivity generator, and then I say thank you, and my cycle is complete.
Amazing. I love the visioning part. So helpful.
It's you
Olga?
see it.
Yeah, go ahead. Yes, you see it. Yeah. It also, I heard you vision it, but you're actually sensing it in the body. It's actually coming alive in you, and that's powerful stuff. Yeah. Olga, what's a simple everyday practice that you use to reduce stress?
I think I will just mention what in my practice is important, maybe when I'm working with the clients in regarding self-care practice. So in my work, I look at kind of 4 dimensions. So I look at physical needs, psychological needs, social and spiritual, and obviously depending on where people are, those needs might differentiate, isn't it? Depending on people's experiences or stress levels or age or whatever. And yes, and sometimes those needs go up and down depending on the situation. Yeah, and it's about acceptance. So it's important to accept where we are in the situation, and acceptance helps us to reconnect with our body and notice what signals the body is sending to us, so we can adjust our lifestyle or reactions in a safer way. But obviously there are some difficulties that we'll probably touch on later. Those are the main points I wanted to mention.
Thank you so much. My goodness, we've got such a beautiful toolkit here for everyone. Katerina, what are some simple everyday self-care practices you use to help you reduce stress?
Yeah, when I wake up, first thing I do is I always say thank you for everything that I will receive today. I always say that. Then I move my body in the bed and then I get up. And then what I do is I move around a little bit. So I walk around the house, moving my hands and my body. But then what I do is I sit quietly with some music in the background and I do breathing. And then what I do is I connect with Archangel Gabriel and we have a conversation of how wonderful the day is going to be and how I'm going to achieve this and achieve that and that sort of thing. If I don't feel like having that conversation, I take my chair and sit in the sun, and I sit in the sun. And I've been taught how to automatically push all the external stuff away from me. So I go finally and I feel the sun. And while I'm doing that, I just automatically be grateful for the day, talk about what I don't want and what I do want. But I mainly try and stay very calm so I can hear what the energies are doing for that day as well. Because I'm an energy worker, I help my clients, and that's how, by tapping into the energy. So I download and channel and do all those things. But I do what Marina does. I have affirmation where I declare myself as a sovereign being and to detach any lower vibration or dark entities that may have attached themselves while I'm sleeping, because I do a lot of energy work while I sleep. Really, I just grab my cup of coffee, go and sit outside and have my 2 cats around my feet or jumping up on me for some love. I just like to start the day feeling calm and getting rid of any anxieties or anything that I may be feeling, and also letting the universe know that I don't want to have a conversation right now. This is my time. So I really do declare that it's my time to rest, and we'll have a conversation later, because our energies talk to the universe all the time. So I declare that this is my time. Please respect my boundaries and let me sit in the sun and calm myself down, because the body feels a lot and the body takes in a lot. Really, you just listen to your intuition, and if you feel like going for a run, that's what you do. Allow yourself to understand what your body wants as soon as you wake up is my thing. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Beautiful. I also start with gratitude, and I thank you for another day to learn and serve in Earth School. I start there, and I have about this much is half a liter of water with some lemon in it, just to get things started in the body. And I have a yoga practice, which consists of a breath practice and some movement and a little meditation. And my history, I suffered with 40 years of chronic pain. So I have an old habit. My work really in the last 12 years and healing from that has been to teach my nervous system to not be in a stress habit. We're doing life this way. So I start my morning with this breath work that is very even and gives direction to the nervous system that we're doing it steady and calmly during the day. And that's very helpful for me. Why? Because I've been doing this for almost 12 years now, every day. And when life brings itself and things get hectic during the day, my practice is right there. I just drop right into the breath and might get a little bit, oh my God, what happened or whatever, but I just drop right back into the breath. So it's very helpful to have this baseline to start every day because it helps me stay steady during the day. Yeah. Thanks everyone for sharing all your wonderful tools. So next question, how do you identify when your stress levels have become unmanageable, and what self-care techniques can you use to help with burnout, prevent burnout? So that's two questions there. How do you know when your stress levels have become unmanageable, and what do you do to help you prevent burnout? And we'll start, I think, this time with Olga.
I just want to mention that when this stress is prolonged, then it becomes a challenge for people even to notice the signs of stress, unfortunately. And in those situations, people end up only starting to pay attention to what is going on for them when they end up with some psychological difficulties, like anxiety, for example, or physical health difficulties. Usually there is stress, which has external triggers. And then if it's unmanaged and it prolongs, then it leads to anxiety, which is more internal kind of stress levels without external triggers. So it's nervousness that people experiencing at all times almost. They wake up with it, they go through day with it, and they go to bed with it. So the danger is, of course, that this will lead to burnout if it's not managed. So basically, we need to ideally identify, at least in that middle space, outside what the problem is, what the triggers are, and do something to address it. So things can be addressed on unconscious or conscious levels. Yeah, conscious levels are easier to deal with than unconscious things. So maybe we will touch on any of it a little bit later if the time permits. Thanks.
Thank you, Olga. Marina, how do you identify when your stress levels become unmanageable, and what do you do to prevent burnout?
And I start pulling on my hair. And I think I'm freaking out. So other than that, I think we all know when we're starting to feel this boiling coming up inside, or really a heat wave, or really this panicky feeling and sweating profusely, then we're getting upset or stressed. I also find that when I unfortunately watch the news, I can get extremely triggered. And I have to stop myself because I feel this element rushing through me. And I truly know that there's nothing that I can do with this energy to make things better. So for me, the question is, do I wish to contribute to this? And the answer is clearly no. So obviously for me, I choose then to not think of that thing that upsets me and think of something that either I can do or a way that I calm myself down, which is my progressive relaxation, breathing techniques, and focusing on something else, doing something else very intentionally, because I must remain calm. I have learned that when I'm stressed, and I go there easily, so I really am expert at myself, then I become most ineffective. I become really, frankly, incompetent. And so therefore I pull myself together. Literally, I pull everything in and focus on one point and do the work for me to calm down, to serve my fellow neighbors and friends and myself with a better state.
Thank you so much. It's so important that we know how to check ourselves. Joanne, How do you identify when your stress levels have become unmanageable, and what do you do to prevent burnout?
Yeah, great question. I think for me, if you're talking personally, like I've been doing the work a long time, so it's very rare that my stress levels get to that stage where I need to manage it as such. And that's come from just starting my day the way I wanted to finish, in the morning routine that I mentioned earlier, and all the things that we're all aligned in doing here, and the visualization. That what I teach my clients is, start with that morning routine, set your day up so your nervous system is ready to go. And then when things happen, and yes, I have definitely been in stressful situations. In fact, I'm moving through one as we speak, the last couple of months. But because I have the tools to navigate that, it's much easier. So knowing self, doing the things that can really, you can identify what's going on for you. And that becomes like the awareness of patterns of behavior, the things that you're doing in your day that may be causing the stress that you don't know. Like when I used to be a workaholic, like that was causing stress in my body, but unbeknownst to me, I had no idea. And as Olga said, often we don't know because it's just been a pattern of behavior. But what I do know is that's stemmed from trauma. Okay, it was a way of coping, was to get things done, to achieve, to be successful, blah, 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 all the things that we think we need to become to be successful. So knowing self and knowing those patterns so that you can put a strategy in place, have strategies to support that and navigate that. And the quickest one I know is breathing, to just breathe. And there's been times that I have had that, gone to that anxiety place, not realizing that I was stressed. And the first thing I go to is just breath, deep breath into the body, and allow my nervous system to calm down so that I can keep moving. And sometimes that may mean stopping for a whole day, a whole week in the past, which I've had to do to reset my nervous system. Still showing up, but letting go of the things that aren't necessarily good for you in those times or meant for you in those times, allowing yourself grace to just be with who you are, go into that meditative space and go deep with what's triggering you and all the things. Big topic. But they're just some of the strategies. I feel having a strategies in place is really important, and to prevent you heading in that burnout where I'm sure most of us have been in the past.
Thank you so much, Joanne. So helpful. We each have a tool belt that we carry with us, and we remember to apply it. That's pretty cool. KATERINA, how do you identify when your stress levels have become unmanageable, and what techniques do you use to prevent burnout?
I've been burnt out many times in my lifetime. So how do I know? I can't sit still. I have to move, like my body wants to move. My nervous system, there's like a little tremor happening within the body, but it's the energies that are around me as well. I get emotional. I'm an emotional human being, so I will cry at the top of the hat. So if my body starts crying, then it's telling me that there's something I need to pay attention to. So I go into my self-awareness. I've been taught by Spirit how to go into my self-awareness and acknowledge what's going on, and don't brush it away as if I'm in fault or anything like that, right? Because I show my clients how to do this too. For me personally, I've spent many years learning how to be quiet, how to sit quietly and not respond to the stress. And that's been difficult too, because the stress feels like balls of fire just being thrown at you, or the earth shaking or something like that. What I do now is I use my tools. So my tools are putting some music in the background, breathing, walking, colouring in. I love colouring in, and that helps me to manage my stress levels. And I use that at night time at the end of the day. So I colour in and I'm grateful and I do all these things. But I'm very much work with spiritual team who've become like my family, and I telepathically speak to them. So even before I may get a little stressed, Gabriel will come in and go, sit with me. Let's talk about something. So why are you feeling this way? He would know before me, right? So they've taught me how to acknowledge it, love it, and then let it go. And then that brings calm and peace to me physically, mentally, and emotionally. I've also allowed myself to let my body cry when there's a lot of stress, because I'm giving myself permission to love myself enough to know that it's not always all my fault. It's just the external energies or whatever. But self-care, and one of the other things too is if I feel my boundaries have been invaded. And how do I know that? By the anxiety of feeling of being pushed to do something or say something or those things. So what I do is I step back and I once again declare that it is on my terms, my time, and how I wish to do it, because I'm the one here having the human experience, right? Yeah, so being emotional is my trigger point, and not being able to sit still. But when I do sit still, I know that everything's fine, right? So that they're my flags, because I know self-care is very important. But I had to learn how to self-care. I had to learn how to ask to learn how to do self-care, because I spent most of my life doing something, cleaning something, going somewhere, doing all this type of stuff. It's only been the last 10 years that I've learned how to sit quietly and say, no, this is my day. The other thing that I do too, if I feel that my stress levels are coming up, I've learned to sit in front of my husband and tell him what's going on, just to have someone to talk to, right? Or what I do is I sit in front of my calendar and once again, Gabriel and I go, okay, this week I'm blocking it out. I'm just going to do it for myself. I'm going to take care of the business that I have to take care of, and it's my time. So if that means I sit outside all day, that's what it means, right? Or if I go for a walk at the beach, that's what it means. So I've been taught how to respect my own self-awareness to know when I need to relax, because I'm somebody who gives more than receives. So I don't reach that stressful level. And like Joe, right now I'm under a lot of stress about something. So I'm using all the tools I know. And the other thing too is when I'm with the client and I'm helping them, I'm getting downloads all the time. So something might come through to help me too. So I jot it down and stuff like that. So my clients help me as well. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. My goodness, we're all stress management specialists here, and we all have very similar tools, but we apply them. It's like a little bit, we talk about them a little bit differently. It's pretty cool. For me, something a little bit different, but it's the same frequency as everyone else. The mind follows the breath. And generally, unless you're on a medication or something, the heartbeat follows the breath. And so for me, that chronic pain thing was like, I don't even want to be in my body. So part of my recovery has been being in the body, like that experience, the somatic experience, really developing that sense. So I know when my mind starts getting erratic during the day and like flighty, I know that my breath has gotten short and ragged, that something, like I'm reacting to something, and I also feel a contraction in the body versus an expansion. So whatever the experience is, I'm doing this like that. And I usually contract it from the mind. I notice that my thinking is a little bit erratic. And then I drop into the body and go, oh, and I just drop into a long, deep breath. It's pretty simple. That's how I do it. Those are the current signs, indicators for me that I'm looking for. And I would say self-care techniques that help prevent burnout. A breath practice for sure. And we'll get into this and other questions, but also I'm really careful about hydrating, and I'm very careful about what I eat. So like I keep the sugar out that can really flare my emotional state. Anyway, that's just a little bit about my tools. Thank you everyone for teaching us what you do and giving everyone a nice tool belt for them to try. Our next question is, in what ways does self-compassion play a role in managing stress? And how can people cultivate this mindset in their self-care routines? And I think this time we'll start with Marina.
Self-compassion is truly another way of saying loving yourself and believing in yourself and taking care of yourself. So again, for me, what I have learned is that when I feel stress coming on, I have to also set boundaries. And we've touched on this a few times, because when there are no boundaries, it's this concept of limitlessness. When there are no limits, there are too many choices overwhelmed. I've just heard of a story which was fascinating, that there was a research done on children in a yard or a playground, and they took the fences away. And the first understanding was when the children have no fences, then they explore greater and they have greater freedom. What happened is the opposite. They came closer within. They started limiting themselves because it was too much. And for me, visually, I imagined myself being on the ocean. I would find myself freaking out because it's this vast, limitless thing. By us setting boundaries, we have more freedom, because that's how far we go. And then when we feel stronger, we will push ahead. So that reduces my stress. Understanding this is what I said I will do today. And I will also not allow anyone to enter my space and take my time, because it is my time, it is my value. That is one way that I'm doing it. And the other way is taking a deep breath and also saying when something goes wrong, and inevitably it goes wrong, that it's okay. Things go wrong. I learn from it. Don't beat myself up, which of course, we tend to do that, or I should say, I do that gladly, but I'm now no longer doing that. And I take a position of, all right, roll your sleeves up, calm down, and move along. That's my approach with really changing my physiology, accepting this is what I'm doing, and just being.
Thank you so much, Marina. That's amazing. Joanne? In what ways does self-compassion play a role in managing stress, and how can people cultivate this mindset in their self-care routines?
Wow. Self-compassion is huge, and it's a part of, I feel like it is a huge part of being able to navigate life in a sense, and be able to recognize through self-awareness that something's going on, and it not necessarily you, your human self, and just being aware of having some grace because often we spiral into the patterns of not good enough, not worthy enough, not being enough for everybody else around us, right? And the guilt and the shame. And when we can learn to really hold space for those emotions that come up and have compassion, it's almost like doing the inner child work. It is doing the inner child work, because most of these emotions and feelings and thinking comes from past wounding, past trauma, and often we don't recognize it. So if we can take the perspective that something deep is going on for us internally that we don't even really know or may not make sense for us, it's coming from possibly from a past experience that didn't feel good at the time and has been buried deep down. And it's an opportunity to bring it to light and hold compassion, hold love, hold space for it, and really be with it so that you can move through it. And often our body, like Katrina was saying, our body is the biggest indicator. when something's going on with our body, it's an opportunity to look what's going on with our inner world, our emotions, and vice versa. If emotions are coming up and there's a body constriction somewhere. So use those opportunities to have compassion and know that there's something deeper that is trying to talk to you, tell you something, and really go in with it, with that compassion and self-love to hold space. And often I would definitely recommend, if it's continual and it's big and it's grasping you, then seek help, seek support. We're not meant to do this work alone, right? We're meant to be in it together, and get an expert, someone that you feel connected with, that you feel that resonates with you, and look at it and practice that self-compassion every single time something comes up, and cultivate that inside of yourself through self-care routines. Yeah, that's just what's coming through for me. Yeah, have grace.
Thank you so much, Joanne. I so appreciate that. It's a lot of work, but it's certainly worth it. Katerina, and what ways does self-compassion play a role in managing stress? And how can people cultivate this mindset in their self-care routines?
I always say to my clients, put the hammer down. Put the hammer down. Just be quiet for a minute. Not everything is about you, right? Because we've got to look at the external things that's going on. And also, especially to those who work with spirit and do channeling and all those things, you can create burnout in that area too, post-traumatic stress, with the energy that you're all attaching yourselves to. Because last year, 2024, my spirit team says, you're resting this year. You're not going to battle any demons. You're not going to battle anything else. You're just going to sit and be quiet for a year. So what did I do? I did a lot of coloring in. I did a lot of walking. I did a lot of self-compassion, as in looking at myself and understanding that I'm worthy of just being able to sit and coloring in. That I don't have to hang on to that guilt and say, no, you can't do that. You've got work to do, because we're conditioned to believe that we always have to work and we always have to achieve something, and yes or no and all these things, right? The self-compassion is also all about understanding that I can't solve all my problems all at once, because I'm just so multidimensional, that one step at a time. That's self-compassion. Take one thing at a time. Look at your basket of things to do. What's important for today? If not doing anything, if you're able not to do anything, life is busy, but if you're capable, if you have the space to not do anything for the day, that's self-compassion. Or reaching out to somebody and saying, I need help, that's self-compassion, because the world has taught us from an early age that it's not such a great idea to ask for help. You have to do everything on your own. You have to produce this on your own, and learning how to step back from that is self-compassion. I personally have had to learn how to love myself enough to know that I can't fix everything at any given moment. And that took 20 years, let me tell you. It's a long, patient process. You have to be kind to yourself. Just because you don't solve a problem today doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. It just means that today you don't have the tool to help you resolve it. So your self-compassion is about self-education. Reach out to somebody who can teach you how to step back. Because when I moved over to Adelaide 24 years ago, my quiet husband taught me how to be quiet, because I came from being busy all the time, right? God bless him. And that was difficult, because I was always somebody who had to go there, fix this, do that. I got to help this person. And I forgot about myself. So last year, when I had to spend the year with my own self and be quiet and just listen to me and be compassionate to Katerina, oh my God, I learned so much about myself because I kept quiet. And it's amazing how when you go into the shadows of things, how the energy speaks to you and says, oh, you can do this. Did you know that? You can create this or this opportunity. And because the self-compassion was about you being quiet for a day, let's face it, externally, there's so much noise that it's there to make you distracted, right? That's deliberately done. So the self-compassion is saying, okay, today I'm going to go and meet Joe for a cup of coffee and we're just going to have the brilliant conversation, because that conversation is going to help you open up the fields of energetic downloads that are going to help you find a solution, right? So conversation is self-compassion too.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Appreciate you. Olga, in what ways does self-compassion play a role in managing stress, and how can people cultivate this mindset in their self-care routines?
I wanted to break the question into two parts. I'll try to do it as quickly as I can. So in the first one, I'll just mention what self-compassion means to me. So to me, it's about kindness, which allows us to do what we need for ourselves, meeting our needs. So basically, it's about doing more of something or less of something. So we might need to do more of resting and less of working, for example. So that's first part. The second part is about routines. That can be challenging for some people for different reasons. Ideally, routines, if they're done consistently, they can turn into habits. But at the beginning of establishing routines, it takes conscious effort, discipline and motivation. But it can be a problem if people are already stressed to have routines created if they're not used to it. So that can be a challenge. So basically, we need to be kind to ourselves, to accept that this is the situation that we have. So people can be kind to themselves and as much as possible, not blame themselves and not assume that there is something wrong with them. It's about believing that it can be achieved. It's just going to take a little bit of time. Whether we're doing it on a conscious level through the routines and motivation and discipline, or we address it unconsciously by understanding the root problem, the root cause of the problem. That's it.
Thank you so much, Olga. So you see, everyone, how important and how curated everyone is in their own practice around self-compassion. And I'm telling you right now, we would not be adding this into our life if it didn't have deep meaning and value to us. I'll just add again, from my own perspective, two things. One is this kind of understanding that we learn life by living it. I make a mistake. What did I learn from that? I try to move towards what did I learn from that instead of beating myself up because of it. And I had a lot of conditioning in those first 7 years around getting it wrong and getting in trouble because I got it wrong. So it took some work for me to develop and grow self-compassion. And the other thing that I'll bring in is just something I learned from Dr. Bruce Perry, who's a trauma specialist. He lays out what I call the hierarchy of healing. So first, we have to have a sense of safety. Then we can connect to ourselves, our inner self, our higher self, others, higher power. Then we can learn, but it's in order. So I can't learn if my nervous system is dysregulated. And I can't connect to others or myself if I'm dysregulated. We can't defend and connect at the same time, just like we can't digest and run at the same time. The body's just not made to do that. So having that, remembering the order of things, for me to have self-compassion, that means I have to be connected to myself in the first place. If I'm having difficulty with that, I check it with my nervous system. And that's where the breath work comes in. So that's my answer on that. And we have time for one more question. I've got two that I have to pick from, and I'm trying to just feeling into the field as to which one would be more helpful. I think I'll ask this one. And I think I'll ask Joanne first. What advice do you have for people who struggle with guilt or feel selfish when prioritizing their self-care?
Yeah. Don't we all carry that? I carried that for so long. I was a single mother of 4 and running a business and doing all the things and trying to be the best at everything. And I carried so much guilt because I was trying to be successful and provide for the family, yet some things I had to often leave my children with people to go on trips overseas and things for work. And the guilt, right? The guilt was just, and guilt will kill you in the end. Honestly, it'll cripple you because it's activating the nervous system. If you're running in guilt all the time, it's activating that part of you that is always thinking about all the things that you haven't done or you could have done or you should have done and all the things. So that was a big part of my life, and learning to let go of that was really just doing some deep trauma work for me personally and working with spiritual teachers and unraveling a lot of my past trauma. However, to prioritize your own self-care, like that's a big commitment, particularly if you're a mum or a carer. But it's a practice. It has to become a part of your daily practice. And I say little baby steps, learning to say no to things that don't serve you, learning to, first of all, also know what it is that you want. What's my intention in, what am I going for in, and is it prioritizing what's important and what's not, and letting go of the things that are not going to serve you or the greater good for everybody. And going back to that oxygen mask, Elizabeth, that you talked about, filling your own cup first and all of that. So understanding that it's not selfish stuff, it's actually, it's what's the word? Not selfish. What's the opposite? Self-full, yes, and self-serving, to put yourself first and prioritizing you and having, again, starting your day the way you want it to finish so that you can navigate and use the tools along the way. But start small and start practicing. It's a practice. We want to reprogram those neuro pathways that have had us running, that have been running us to feel those things. It's the guilt and the shame and all the things. So we want to start to be consciously, bring them to the conscious awareness and start practicing so that over time, and that comes back to affirmations was huge for me in the beginning, and reciting Louise L. Hay's extract every single day. That got me out of depression, right? That was a little thing, but it was huge because it got me back in my body and back on my path and my truth, and be able to serve what I needed to do for my family. So pick something, prioritize one self-care practice and start there and do it over and over and over and over and over and over and over until it becomes a part of your norm, because it's not normal. We've been trained to really not take care of ourselves, take care of everybody else. So we need to rewire that.
Thank you so much, Joanne. Olga, what advice do you have for people who struggle with guilt and feel selfish for prioritizing their self-care?
Actually, this is one of my client group that I work with, and these people do struggle to prioritize their needs. So they put the needs of others before their own. My first biggest advice would be to look at self-care as something or a form of service to others. So it could take so many different levels, but one of them is that if they look after themselves, that means they can continue looking after others if they wish. So that's one way of looking at it. And the other way, well, there are a few others, but one other is obviously by giving self-care is about receiving. So, and that would create the balance in their lives and balance in their relationships, because it mirrors the behavior that the balance is achieved via giving and receiving. That's it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Olga. We're getting a little bit close on time, but we have time to finish for the three of us to finish the answer to the question here. Katerina, what advice do you have for people who struggle with guilt or feel selfish when prioritizing their self-care?
Wow, there's so many levels, isn't there? What I suggest is find the courage to seek help. Believe that you don't have to do this on your own, because seeking help is not going to feed on the guilt. It's actually going to help you remove the guilt, or learn how to not take everything on, because there's a lot of people right now who are highly empathic and they're feeling things that don't even belong to them. So what I strongly recommend is give yourself the chance to educate yourself by reaching out to somebody who can help you. Because like we've said, you can't do it on your own, because you're going to create post-traumatic energetic stress, as I call it. There's just too much information and it's going to overload you, and physically you're going to freeze. You're not going to be able to create solutions. So give yourself a chance and go and connect with the mentor, connect with the coach, however you want to label it. But mostly important, know that you are here on this planet right now to learn how you can resolve your own stress. So then those all around you can say, wow, how did you do that? And by just having that conversation, you're going to help somebody else.
Thank you so much, Katerina.
Thank you.
So helpful. Marina, what advice do you have for people who struggle with guilt or feel selfish about prioritizing their self-care?
First of all, everyone should understand, what do they feel guilty about? Usually it's between work and personal life. Now, it's a choice that we're making, that we're working and that we're doing, having, of course, a personal life. So it's also a choice whether we feel guilty about what we're doing or not doing. Very often, I feel we're also influenced by external opinions and feedback, and we're being told, oh, you should be a good mother. Oh, you should be doing more in business. I personally have found that guilt does not serve me very much at all. And therefore, whatever you're doing, and you leave the other stuff beside, leave it aside. And you most definitely are not selfish, but selfless when you choose yourself first and understand that if you're not fully recharged and re-energized and filled with what it takes, then you're no good either there or there. So that's my advice. Fill yourself. We've been doing the cup thing, so that would be my advice.
Thank you so much, Marina. I love all these answers. They're so helpful. And the only thing I would add here is I would be asking myself, why am I not, what's keeping me from standing in my power? Because if I'm feeling guilty, I'm not standing in my power. So I'd be working on that. That's in addition to what everyone else said, I would be putting myself there. And I do ancestral clearing. So I would be doing like, what's happening with the ancestors? And I'd also be like, what's happening in the collective? What are the energies, like Katerina said, what are the energies out there? Let's just work with those and clear that, right? Because it may be that thing, that guilt I'm feeling, it may not even be mine. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming today, spending your time with us. Thank you, ladies, for offering all your wisdom, which sounds to me like it was well-earned, hard-earned through the School of Hard Knocks. So appreciate it. I hope all the listeners got something out of this. Now, I'm curious, is it Joanne or Christ May? Do you have a question, like a last little message for Sacred You that you'd like to bring in?
Yeah, I'll come in now and talk about this beautiful Sacred You .love community that Sophia and the team have created. And it's a gorgeous space, safe space. When you talk about safety, this is one of the most incredible safe spaces where we host many different tribe meetings on different topics and hold space for each other and of different interests that you may be interested in. And I run the Empowered Youth Tribe, which is on a hiatus right now, but we'll be back in a couple of weeks. But yeah, there's so many opportunities for you to come and be a part of this beautiful community and get support. The support we're talking about, that you can reach out and be yourself and authentically just show up and just feel and tune in. And you don't need to speak. It's just a really gorgeous way to all connect and support each other in this massive earth provoking, triggering world we live in at the moment. And it's somewhere where you can come and take away all the stress from your body and just be with people who care. So it is $1 US dollar to join and come and check the community out for 2 weeks, $1 US for 2 weeks. And you can come and experience all the different meetings, all the different unique abilities of our hosts that they share with us, sound healing and belief systems and bewitching tribes where it's all magical. And there's so many, I should have a list with me to share with you, but yeah, please come and check it out for $1. And then there's a 50% off at the moment if you do choose to stay with the community at 50% a month. And I think that's around $20 US, something like that. Sorry, I haven't got all the exact figures. I should be more prepared, but it's worth every cent, less than a cup of coffee a day if you drink coffee. So yeah, come and check us out. We'd love to invite you in to explore what's possible in our community. And I believe all that will be in the comments. Chris May is putting all the information and all of our offerings that we do as experts in our own field. And it's been a pleasure to have all such beautiful, wise women in the company today sharing our wisdom. Our links will be in the comments below as well. So reach out if you do need support, if you feel you need more than that, just check out the comments for all that information. Thank you, everybody. Elizabeth, did you want to say anything last minute? Are you good?
I just want to thank everyone. And as everyone here has said, please reach out. We're all here for each other. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You.